Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between. Welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast on this earth, the Court Martial Podcast. I am your Colonial champion, Sean McCarty, reviewing AEW's All Out 2021 show, which was certainly something. But of course I'm not going to do this alone. I couldn't possibly do this alone because I have my illustrious co-host. The man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He is the only man to have ever seen Omega Elfberg in a Waffle House and lived to tell the tale. The grumpiest Gil when it comes to AEW, the Waldorf to my Statler, Skyler Greenberg. Welcome aboard, buddy.
The only way I survived that encounter was that I had to pay for the Waffle House dinner, so it was about $489 out of the pocket.
Yeah, he eats a lot of food. I didn't see it. I was told stories of the way that this man eats. It's degenerate.
The only thing I can say is that he ate so much he made the waiting staff cry.
Well, and speaking of making people cry, we've got one more person on this three-man booth, and I'm making myself laugh, which is never a good sign. Now, if Court Martial Podcast is the greatest wrestling podcast on Earth, his has to be the greatest on some other inhabitable planet somewhere in the Milky Way, because it is the totally awesome podcast. It is the man, the monster chugging, Andy hugging, nutter butter brother himself, the cat man to my crimson chin, JoshAgeddon. How you doing, my friend?
Welcome also to the Totally Awesome Podcast, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is a simulcast! And I'm doing good. I'm doing very well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay, all things considered.
Also, I am the reason why Skyler's short almost $500, because if it wasn't for me, there wouldn't be an Omega Elfberg.
That's right.
Yes.
We wouldn't have needed it. We wouldn't have needed Omega Elfberg.
Yeah.
But now we require him. And he may have a lot of work to do on today's show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, but this is a long pay-per-view. I've got 11 pages of notes here.
Jesus.
I take that back. 14.
It keeps increasing in size.
So this is going to be long, and this is going to hurt, but that is what we've put ourselves through. So why don't we start with an overall, how do we feel about this show? Now that we are several days removed from the event, Skyler, your overall takeaway.
Why did CM Punk have to come back? Why did he come back so I have to watch this show? God fucking damn it.
Can I ask you a sincere question?
Sure.
Did you listen to a lot of corny stuff before you watched the show?
Maybe.
Okay, the reason why I ask is I've noticed that whenever I watch Cornette stuff before I watch the program, I like the program less. So it's curious.
Yes, because he points out all the holes that are wrong with the show.
Right.
And then when you watch it, you can't unsee it.
It's true. And, it's just, I feel like it's almost ruining it before you even get the chance to get the organic feel of it, which I'm not saying you didn't have. It's just an interesting, different perspective. You know what I mean? It's interesting how just listening to what he says can influence how you view the show.
Yes, anyway.
What about you, JoshAgeddon?
Two things. One, I love how every time we have reviewed AEW on the TAW Gaming channel, it's been like a week late.
Naturally.
We need a week to recover from the shit.
Two, I loved the show. I thought it was fantastic.
So opposite opinion. I like that. Opposite opinion.
There was only like one or two things on this show that I did not care for.
Well, I'm going to kind of split the difference between you guys because I gave you a preliminary feeling about the show after I watched the entire 5 hours of it. And it was pretty high. I've knocked it down a peg just from kind of rewatching a few of these things, but we've got a lot to talk about. Now, I'm going to assume that neither of you watched the pre-show.
Fuck the pre-show.
You mean the buy-in for All Out.
Yeah, the pre-show.
They should call it the buyout whenever they do All Out.
Well, I see a lot of people not buying in after the match that they had to endure. This match, I'll go through this as quickly as I can so that we can get you both back into the deal, because nobody wants to hear a massive long rant about a match that was really not that good. It was Matt Hardy, Private Party, Jack Evans, and Angelico versus Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, Joey Wheeler, Wheeler Yuta, and the Jurassic Express.
You mean Chuck Taylor?
And maybe, I don't know how French he is, but he did kind of look like a cheesy French actor, though. You know, for as much as he can actually look like anything other than like somebody who works at a construction site for like 3 days and then gets fired. Anytime I ever watch him wrestle, I cannot take him seriously. He just looks even when he's not doing anything, he just looks goofy. And he's not in shape. I mean, usually that's not a huge deal for me.
That's one reason.
All I ever see is just that little piece of muffin top, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
Also, he gave one of the most awesome-looking finishing moves, the back suplex into a pile driver. He named it the Awful Waffle, and I'm just like, why?
Because Chuck Taylor, because it's awful, and he's awful.
Give a badass-looking move a terrible name.
The first thing I wrote was, I'm guessing this is all moves, no meat. Look at that. I was right. Note the lack of surprise.
Note the lack of surprise.
What? There wasn't much to guess.
There wasn't much to me, it's true. And then, apparently, this guy, Joey Wheeler, is apparently Orange Cassidy's pupil. Like, this guy, of anyone on this company, needs a pupil. Jungle Boy gets a pop, Luchasaurus is there, and Marco Stunt is deaf.
Deaf as in he can't hear, or deaf as in literal deaf?
Deaf as in I don't want to hear him or see him or watch him alive.
So literal deaf.
So, yeah. It's, and Jack Evans has bulked up a bit, I've noticed. He is not the string bean he was in his youth. Now he's a string bean with a few peas in it. So good for him.
Wow. That's such a backhanded compliment.
That is the most backhanded compliment I've ever heard.
Lucha, I'm just saying it's true. I only speak as the truth.
And think about this. This is just Sean's warm-up.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
This is so maybe I can perform a better job at buying you in than the actual buy-in.
Yes, now I want to see the match just to laugh at it.
Jungle Boy with a lucha rope arm drag with a whole bunch of halupi that Phoenix is going to do later, and most of the roster does anyway. Just further adding to the whole point of, you got to remember with All Out that moves don't matter, and it never will. It's like, that's why I'm pulling my Drew Carey card. Welcome to the AEW All Out, where everything's made up and the moves don't matter. And then we get a submission pretzel where everybody just added another submission onto one another, and then it just turned into like 10 people having weak-looking stuff connecting each other like total idiots. You know, this was just dumb, and it set the tone. And if you had watched this show and had watched this, I bet neither of you would have cared what was going to come next, which I thought was a terrific match. But then Luchasaurus gets a choke slam to a knee lift that just looked awkward. Every time I watch him now, he's just lanky. You know, he's just clunky in there. It doesn't look smooth. Then Orange Cassidy does play kicks to 3 of the 5 different members of
Oh my god. Group. I'm so glad I did not watch this.
Jack Evans and a Private Party, he kicked all 3 of them, and they all just turned around and sat there and took it. Then Orange Cassidy did split his legs like he was about to receive the Holy Christ and double hurricanrana 2 people. And it looked so stupid because it just looked like 2 people doing front flips for a guy who just split his leg open to receive both members of Private Party. And there are a lot of videos on the internet like that already.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. What you're describing, it sounds like an AEW fan's wet dream.
It was definitely something that most AEW fans liked, and I despised.
It sounds like something Xavier Woods would enjoy.
Well, then we get a tope count, because I wanted to count how many tope suicidas we got, and I don't know how far we got until I lost count, or stopped caring. But we were at 1. We did get a collar and elbow tie-up in this match, because Matt Hardy started it. So,
if it wasn't for Matt Hardy, there would be no collar and elbow tie-ups.
That was the only... that's literally probably the only redeeming quality of this entire match.
Why? Like, for the past several pay-per-views, the only collar and elbow tie-up on these shows was on the buy-in.
Yep.
Why?
Well, not this time, because we got quite a lot more than I thought we would.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But in any event, then one of the, I think it's Joey Wheeler. I keep calling him Joey Wheeler. His real name is Wheeler Yuta, but Joey Wheeler, with his alligator sword, is about to get pinned, and Orange Cassidy comes in with the laziest punch to break up a count I've ever seen in my life, which was at least canon.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It was terrible. I already talked about the double Rana. Then Jungle Boy gets on Luchasaurus' shoulders, and Mike Evans and Jack Evans gets on Angelico's shoulders, and they proceed to do a chicken fight like they're in a fucking pool. And then
I'm having so much trouble visualizing this.
But then then there came the coolest part of this, because then, and I'm sorry, it was Private Party, because whichever the lighter member of, I think, Mark Quinn, he went to do a crossbody on the top rope to Jungle Boy, who's on Luchasaurus' shoulders, and he grabs him and does a backflip crossbody down and takes down, Jungle Boy takes down this particular member, Mark Quinn, 2 count. And it was contrived, then Marco Stunt gets involved, and I already hated this, and then Jungle Boy hit something, I don't remember, and got the 1, 2, 3.
We need close, nail-biting 85 near falls on the buy-in match.
Yeah, there was one impressive move, the rest was hot garbage, which is to be expected in a match of this type, in this setting, with these people.
But, Sean, this was a funny way to start the show with just lighthearted good action, right?
Where was the good action? Explain to me where exactly in that matchup good action was found.
I'm still trying to visualize 2 people chicken fighting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. It's literally playing a game of chicken, but Jungle Boy... And I don't even think it was punches. I think it was slaps to the face.
So were they just taking their arms and slapping each other in the face? Is that it?
It was literally... They were on top of each other, and Luchasaurus walked towards one, and Dingle Bop brought fucking Orange Cassidy. Mark Quinn. I can never remember these names of these idiots.
They're the same. They're the same. It's like private... not private.
Mark Quinn has been taking the same color dye. I guess they must be getting an AEW a discount for splat hair dye, because Mark Quinn had all sorts of things going on. Obviously, a Bad Bunny enthusiast.
Oh, we'll talk about her later.
And so this was just... Let's move on, shall we?
Please. Please.
So we get to the main show, and our first match, our action, after, of course, we get the JR introduction, and he's like, "Hi, I'm leaving shortly," and I'm not upset about that.
Wait, where's JR going?
Anywhere but there. At least away from the commentary table. They're slowly phasing him out.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I think for his own sanity.
Yeah, for his own sanity.
No, but JR's been terrible.
Yeah,
Tonight was not an exception. He was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Excalibur was worse. Excalibur was worse. And there was a moment in this match in particular, the first match, where I wanted to kill him.
Well, it is the TNT Championship. It is Miro versus Eddie Kingston. And your initial thoughts, JoshAgeddon?
I thought this was a fantastic opening match. I loved this match.
I did too. Skyler?
I will say this. I thought this was a good way to start the show with 2 big, beefy boys fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what this was. This was just a big, intense Haas fight. Both of these guys know how to lay it in and make it look convincing.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the greatest storytelling match on the face of this earth? No.
Absolutely not.
No.
It didn't need to be.
But it didn't need to be, I don't think. I think both of these guys, they wrestled a more of a move-oriented match, but there were still storytelling elements in it that you could tell who the heel was, who the babyface was. They had a dynamic to this match. Everything they did, they laid in. I love Eddie Kingston selling every time I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I really liked this match.
I love how throughout the entire match they were like building up to and setting up like how the chest and like upper neck and head of Miro was his weak point, all just building to that spinning backfest into the DDT, and then the referee was distracted. I just love that the entire idea of that throughout the entire match.
Yeah,
and
They had great elements in this match.
Oh yeah,
I think that just however they structured this match wasn't like all the pieces were there, but there were just a couple things that could have been rearranged to really make this more quality.
Yeah.
What helps with this match? Well, what helps with this roster? I didn't hate this show as much as the last AEW show. What helps with this match and this general pay-per-view is that the roster has gotten a lot better. It's also gotten a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was not that long ago that the biggest guy on this roster was maybe Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, these are two certified hosses. Eddie Kingston, whenever I see this guy, I do not want to fuck with him.
No, absolutely not.
No. I do not want to fuck with Eddie Kingston. And Miro, as much shit as I give him for the beginning of his career in AEW being Pip Sabian's sidekick and the best man, he's turned it on ever since he's been a heel and on his own, and he's a good mid-card champion. Is he ever going to be a world champion? No.
Yeah, he's in he's in the perfect position right now.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing with him is that I don't think you could take him seriously as a world champion. I don't know. Maybe in the future he could, but I can't see it right now. But he's in the perfect place right now.
It would take some work. It would take some work.
Yeah.
But I will go in ahead and say the moment where I wanted to like punch my TV, it was when Eddie Kingston delivers this beautiful looking fisherman suplex, and Excalibur says he doesn't do that he had to reach deep into his arsenal and deploy what he felt was needed.
What the fuck does that even mean?
And I just was like, and I just paused it and threw my hands up in the air and says, "What does that even mean?" He only deploys it. He only deploys it if there is a need. What?
Thank you, Michael Cole.
This isn't fucking tanks, bro.
I'm just like, it's a wrestling match. Look at who. In what wrestling match isn't there not a need to deploy whatever move you need to do to win the match?
The babyface thinks to himself, "It looks like I'm in jeopardy." Says to no one in particular, "Deploy the Fisherman Buster."
It was one of the worst calls. It was one of the worst calls I've ever heard in my life.
Oh god, Excalibur is so bad. I just had to tune out the commentary from most of this.
I tuned out the commentary a lot, but that line got through my defenses. My god, it was awful.
Yeah. And what was good about this match, though, is that there were actually some rules in it.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually paid attention to some, at least Eddie did, and I thought Miro did, but they weren't out for an egregious amount of time on the outside, unlike some matches we will see later on today.
Yes.
And they held it in. This match didn't go excruciatingly long, or at least it didn't feel like it. And here's one of my big issues with this matchup. I forget who did what move, and Excalibur goes, "Oh, that's Kablaba Falaba," which Japanese wrestler Kamamoto Kanuki did once, and go look up Shamamura Shagupa, and so he lists off all these Japanese wrestlers that all of these casual fans that they're trying to attract just should know. And I don't think it was in this match, but I think at one point JR even said, "Google it, kids."
Yeah, I do remember that.
But it brings up a good point. Wrestling should not require homework.
Yeah, that is true.
And it's something that bothers me about Excalibur. Every time he does this, there is such a thing as too much historical background.
He is like the world's most obnoxious supercomputer, except he's like the lead commentator.
it's the most pretentious wrestling. It's the pretentious wrestling fan. Like,
yes.
You should know about this wrestler from 1954 in All Japan Pro Wrestling who did this move one time. Like, okay, thank you. Imagine a conversation between Excalibur and Mauro Ranallo on the history of Japanese wrestling.
Oh, dear God.
Painful.
Painful.
That's the only thing I could say. Somebody got the hands bit.
Ear cancer.
That was nice.
I think Eddie bit Miro's hand, which is such an Eddie move.
Yeah.
And then we get a tope count. We're at 2. And I was upset that this match had to have it because every other match is going to have it. So
also, these are 2 big guys. Neither of them need to fly.
Neither need it. But this was where I really started to see something different about Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston selling. You know who it reminds me of?
No.
Anyone?
No.
Bueller?
No.
You know what it reminds me of Terry Funk. And that stagger cell. And I feel like Eddie's got a lot of that influence of Terry's in his selling, especially the further this match went and the slower the pace got.
You know, the more I think about it, the more you're absolutely right.
You hit the nail on the head, man.
yeah, pretty much.
It's tremendous, and I loved it. I just love seeing it, because he's one of the few guys who could do the Terry Funk stagger cell and make it look legitimate. Mm-hmm. You know, you wouldn't buy that from most of the rest of this roster, but Eddie Kingston, you do.
Can we talk about the finish of this match? I loved the finish of this match.
Yes, and the false finish before that if the ref didn't fuck it
Oh,
up.
yeah. So basically, they were fighting in the corner, and the turnbuckle pad got ripped off. So Miro puts in the game over, and Eddie Kingston gets to the ropes, which
Terrible
made the
name for a camel clutch, by the way. Sorry.
I agree. The Accolade sounds so much better, but you understand why they can't use the name the Accolade, but
naturally.
But so he gets to the ropes, and the crowd goes nuts when Eddie Kingston gets the rope break. I love that. Which
was great.
Oh yeah, and the look on Miro's face when he got to the ropes was also fantastic. So, in anger, he starts slamming around the turnbuckle pad that's broken off, and the referee's like, oh, I guess I'll go put it up now. And while he does that, Eddie Kingston gets the back fist to the future, and then the DDT cover, and the crowd is counting, and the referee takes forever to get over there, and he gets a 2, and the crowd is so pissed off at the referee. Like, I know that they did this on purpose to set it up this way, but it worked so well because the crowd was furious.
Yeah,
and then
it was great.
And then they were brawling Eddie tried to use the exposed turnbuckle, and the referee stopped him, which made the crowd even more angry at the referee, which was great. And then in all the confusion, Miro did the mule kick, low blow to Eddie Kingston, roundhouse kick, bounce off the ropes, jumping super kick, 1, 2, 3. I loved it.
That was such a hoofer of a kick. I was like,
yeah,
Jesus God!
It was brutal.
I'll tell you what I really liked about this, and then Skyler, you could say your piece. What I really liked about this is that Eddie Kingston, unlike WWE, where they would have made this finish, Kingston would have tapped to Miro's accolade. Really hurt Eddie Kingston, because that's what WWE would have done. Yeah. At least they had the wherewithal where if you're gonna catch him on a 3 count. Yeah. With a big ass kick. Yeah. I think that was the better move to make, and it actually made some sense and doesn't, I think, hurt Eddie Kingston's stock at all coming out of this match. And in a match where, and in a show where, you expect people to be hurt either legitimately or from the booking, this made sense. And I appreciate the fact that this made sense, at least for the most part.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sky.
It helps that Miro delivered those kicks with malice, because if those kicks had looked weak, and sometimes Miro super kicks look weak, it wouldn't have been a good finish. It would have been just a flat ending to the match. But he nailed Kingston in the jaw, especially that last kick. He nailed Kingston in the jaw, and Kingston stole it like death.
You know, his lifeless flop to the ground was perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic. And Eddie King, he's a tremendous seller. I just felt so bad for him when he had to do that thing with fucking Moxley. He sounded like he had actually died. Because, Kingston's just so dedicated to doing it right, and he had no idea what it looked like.
Yeah. I mean, if Miro wanted to win this match, like a shortcut would have been just set off a few firecrackers and then get a schoolboy roll-up, and he would have won.
Yeah. So, at the very least, this actually had some semblance of sense, and I actually enjoyed this. My last thing I said was, wait, what is this feeling? This cannot sustain itself, can it?
Well, the answer is no.
No, it could not.
Yeah, but I thought this was a fantastic opening match.
Well, I'll let you start this. Or actually, it's Sky's turn to start. It is Papa Moxley against Kojima.
I see John Moxley is continuing his campaign against Japanese AARP members.
Japanese Legend Killer.
The Japanese Legend Killer.
Hey, that's Ted DiBiase Jr.'s gimmick in SWCG. I will
See,
sue.
now you know what it's like.
Hold on. Technically, John Moxley did it first, so you're copying from him.
Oh, God, I'm going to get sued.
Exactly.
No one's getting sued. Omega Elfberg, he's on it. He's also an attorney.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Anyway, Sky, what was your impressions of these?
I don't know. It's just... I don't care what reason that they had John Moxley wrestle against some 50-year-old Japanese wrestler. And I know Kojima is good. It's just... Kojima is 50, okay? He's not prime Kojima. I don't know. It was just a match.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah, here's my thing. Didn't we just see this match with Miro and Eddie Kingston? This was like, they did so much of the same shit in like just almost the same order. And
it's AEW. They copy whatever the first guy did.
Yeah, this just didn't do it for me. I mean, there was no way that Papa Mox and Kojima was going to top what we just witnessed. There was no chance that was going to do what... And I think AEW knew that, which is probably why this was on when it was on.
I don't know, Joshua, what did you think?
I really enjoyed this match. I liked it.
Well, I mean, you are the bigger fan of Japanese wrestlers than me and Sean. So, Can you talk about why Kojima is so cool?
Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Kojima, and honestly, I did have to look up his name a couple of times because I forgot who he was. But I really enjoyed how hard-hitting this match was. I enjoyed how they hit each other. They hit each other really hard. I liked the moves, the offense, and although I personally would have given Kojima the win because I thought giving the win to Moxley was a little too obvious, what it set up for, I'm a fan of because I love Minoru Suzuki. But I did enjoy the match for what it was. And I love how Kojima's move is that big right-armed clothesline. I love how he never hit it. And I love how he hit a left-armed clothesline, but it didn't get the win because it was his left arm, not his more powerful right arm, not his dominant arm. Just stuff like that I enjoyed in this match.
Well, that's great.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Does bringing in guys like Kojima and Suzuki do anything for you?
I understand why, but I don't think it's reaching the appeal that they think it is. I think the amount of people who, in America at least, who are watching the weekly programs and are trying to get to watch the weekly program, like I said, this, again, most people who saw Honda Suzuki here at the end of this we're going, okay, who is this? I mean, a big, tough dude. Obviously, he's a badass, and they obviously said that on the camera, but a lot of people who are watching this show, perhaps, and buying this, because this got a record pay-per-view buy, were going, okay, so we got a Japanese guy who just lost, and now we got an older, balder Japanese guy who's smaller than the guy who just beat Kojima.
Oh, and also Moxley defeated Suzuki the following night on Dynamite.
Oh, super!
but Suzuki has said that he is not done with Moxley.
I would have given Suzuki the. I know they were in Cincinnati and they didn't want to beat John Moxley in his hometown, but I still would have given the win to Suzuki.
Well, Papa Mox has got to do his Papa Mox things. Why did they have this match refereed by Aubrey if these two were such dangerous individuals?
Does it matter?
Well, perception is reality. That's just what I'm going to put into that. It's not that. Again, this is no knock on Aubrey because she's sadly one of the best. Not sadly. She's the best referee they've got. And so that's no knock on Aubrey at all. But like, if these guys are supposed to be the most dangerous and toughest men on the face of this earth, why would you want to have a woman in the line of fire?
I mean,
I'm just saying for how much trouble you get in real life for that.
I get what you're saying, Sean.
I mean, neither of these guys are a wife beater, unlike some guy that Jon Moxley tags with sometimes.
You got a point there.
So I don't know. It seemed a little odd to me, and I don't think it's necessarily. It's AEW, and I understand why, because it's like you said, does it matter? And AEW's response to that is always going to be no. And so Papa Mox has lost a lot of muscle tone, really working into that dad bod he's got.
Moxley is really, really skinny now. He looks like he's on meth.
He's tall and lanky now. It's weird.
He's pre-WWE Jon Moxley in muscle tone.
By the way, he also won the GCW championship from Matt Cardona.
Yes, I did hear. And there were GCW chants before the match started.
He wore the sweatshirt to the ring.
I think we should move on to the next
match.
Let me close. We're not done with this match. I'm not done with it. I got a lot more to talk about here.
You're really gonna get your 14 pages of notes worth, right?
I wrote it down. I'm talking about it.
Before you continue, Sean, can I give my final thoughts on this?
Oh yes, please do.
Okay, I enjoyed this match. It wasn't anywhere near as good as the opening match, but I thought for what it was fine. I love Jon Moxley. I like Kojima. And Minoru Suzuki, his appearance made me pop. I really liked it. I loved his gotch pile driver. And for me, this segment was one thumb up. Not two thumbs up, but one thumb up.
Well, somebody's got a thumb up their ass who's coming up with this kind of stuff. Because the crowd was understandably less into this than they were the first one. Then we get 2 head bites in the middle of a pandemic. Ha ha ha. We get an apron DDT sell by Papa Mox that looked like total goof. But that's Moxley. Koji went all the way around the other side of the ring to break out of the submission. Oh, yeah. So Moxley's got him in, I forget what, like a clover leaf or something. A crossface, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was the bulldog choke.
Yes, it was the headlock. So instead of being right next to the ropes where he could have grabbed it by his hands right in front of that, he turned all the way around to the other camera where the camera was so he could crawl further to reach a rope further away than the one that he could have just gotten to in the first place.
But Sean, you have to do things where you're facing towards the hard camera.
Bad. Damn. Bad dog.
I'm not even gonna notice. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't even notice that.
And then I tuned out. This was mostly moves. There were strikes. There wasn't a ton of story. At least I saw. There was no heel and babyface, and the crowd wasn't responding accordingly to that. Then Justin Roberts had a glitch moment. Somebody sprayed some water on him. Yep.
Moxley! Sorry, continue.
That's the one. And here's the thing now. We were talking about having Koji Kojima win this match. And Moxley, I feel like I actually disagree with the fact that you think he should have won. I think that Moxley is the only person who could have won this. Because just for a broader audience, for at least the American audience that the show is running on to cater to, Jon Moxley is the more marketable star of the group, especially considering his age, considering the longevity of what they're planning to do with him. As great as these bigger guys are to have, no matter how long they're going to be, Moxley is the guy that people are going to actually pay more attention to.
But it's not like Kojima is going to wrestle in AEW for a long time. It's not happening.
Now, I do see what you're saying. Me personally, I just felt it was a little too obvious. But since they were having Suzuki come out next, it made me be like, okay, that's why they give Jon Moxley the win. And he's a more common name than Kojima, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Here's the question, though, is that who comes out after Jon Moxley beats Suzuki? Does it eventually lead to an actual big current wrestler in Japan? Okada.
No, we're going to see the Great Muta come back for the 48th time.
Oh, yeah.
I would have no doubts that the Muta would
I
love
would
to
100%
take some of Tony Khan's money.
I would 100% believe, before it's all said and done, we're going to see the Great Muta in AEW.
Bring in Tanahashi. The ace.
Why not? Everyone else is going to get Tony Khan's money, so why not him too?
Every time they said the Forbidden Door has been opened once again, I just cringed.
Then they did this face-to-face when Toyota Suzuki and face in the ring. These two are coming, and I noticed that Suzuki was already bleeding.
No,
before they even touched each other. I'm like, how?
John Moxley.
The thing where he smashed his head on the door before he got out of the locker room.
John Moxley busted open his elbow during the match, and when they started punching each other, his elbow blood got on Suzuki. That's what that was.
It must have been. I don't know. But then...
Sorry, I like the headcanon of Suzuki bleeding before he got to the ring.
He just looks at him and just
New Japan Goldberg.
Like,
New Japan Goldberg.
That's how you know he's so intense. Suzuki starts bleeding when he sees Moxley.
Yeah, bleeding on demand. That's how intense.
During their match on Dynamite, apparently he got hit in the eye during their match on Dynamite and started bleeding out of his eye during the match, and there was blood everywhere.
Which one?
The one on Dynamite.
No, which guy?
Oh, Suzuki.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, his whole body is basically like Ric Flair's forehead, so...
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
What a surprise. This whole thing, then we get this afters and we get the pile driver, and at this rate, the Young Bucks will have nothing left to do. I'm like, what are they going to do here? How are they not going first? All of these moves have been used. They're not going to replicate moves now, would they? Would they?
Maybe.
Well, let's make sure that we're going to add some more legitimacy before we get to those goons, because it is Alien Statlander versus Dr. Britt Baker for the AEW Women's Championship, and it's my turn to start this off, even though you've heard a lot of me recently.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, Dr. Britt Baker, she had Chuck Taylor and Joey Wheeler there with her. Tristan and Joey Wheeler with them, and Taya said to go back, and they left the Gooby Goobers home, except for Orange Cassidy, or I'm sorry, not Britt Baker, Alien Statlander. Brings the Goofy Goobers, he leaves them home, but Cassidy comes in, and this was a weird thing with Cassidy in this match. But all in all, this could have been a lot worse.
Skyler, you go next.
Chris Statlander has the worst gear of the night. I'm sorry, what the fuck are you wearing, girl?
She's from outer space.
She's from the Andromeda planet, which is also a planet.
No, Andromeda Galaxy.
I don't get it. I just don't. Anyways, what can Britt Baker get a serious challenger? Like, what's Thunder Rosa doing in the Battle Royal? Have her wrestle against... you know what? I'm asking for too much.
You are asking for too much.
Yeah, especially since Thunder Rosa defeated her in that hardcore match. She has like a history with Britt Baker, but I see what you're saying.
It's disappointing that Britt Baker doesn't have anyone to work with who's actually serious, because she's actually very good. Britt Baker has come a long way from the days of being really green and having potential. She's arguably one of the top 5 best women in AEW. Maybe top 3.
I would say the top. I mean,
like, it's between her, Thunder Rosa, and Serena Deeb, but those 3 women are the best, clearly, and there's no one else who can match them.
Yeah. And even Britt's work got a lot better, I've noticed. It's a lot tighter. It's not the greatest, but it's tighter. And it's enough to make it, put something... But this match made no goddamn sense. And the sad thing is, Chris Statlander... If you change up her gear, she's got a look as far as her height is concerned, as far as her physique is concerned, but the second that we get her holding Britt Baker's finger, which I thought was nice, when she actually just stopped her, that was cool, but to turn that around and to boop her on the fucking nose, and the match was dead.
She booped the Snoop.
That was it. as soon as I saw that, I'm like, okay, this match is completely dead, and I don't care anymore.
Well, if that didn't kill the match, Orange Cassidy and the outside interference did. Because, god damn it, why the hell is Orange Cassidy here, and why does he have to steal from basically the women in the ring?
Because he loves her, and he loves space, and he took a whole bunch of DMT in the back, and he rocketed off with her to space.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Wow.
And now
They call him freshly squeezed for a reason.
He came back down to earth and now cuts a fiery promo. He doesn't give a fuck 95% of the time, but the second that some galaxy pussy's involved, get Orange Cassidy going.
Jesus.
I feel like
Galactic pussy. Add it again.
That feels like the plot for a hentai movie.
Oh, man.
Orange Cassidy and the Galactic Pussy in comic book stores everywhere.
Oh,
No,
God.
I want that shit on DVD.
Oh,
The
God.
graphic novel
Straight to
/
DVD.
movie.
50 Shades of Orange.
50.
Oh, God. Terrific. These poor women.
Oh, God. May I give my thoughts on this match?
Yes, Pat, what'd you think?
He loved it.
No, I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it. Up to this point, I thought this was not as good as the opener, but I thought it was better than the Moxley-Kojima match. I like how, like about a year or like 2 years ago, when I first saw Chris Statlander, she was really hard into this alien gimmick. She's toned it down a little bit to where not all of her mannerisms are weird and alien-like.
This is toned down?
Yes, from where she was, this is slightly toned down, and I appreciated that. There were two things that kind of bothered me in this match. One, they horrifically botched a curb stomp, which looked terrible, and that kind of threw them off their rhythm a little bit, and it took them a second to get back going. Second, Britt Baker accidentally deadlifted Chris Statlander on a superplex, so Statlander had to just heave her over her shoulder. And that superplex was ugly. Like, she landed so awkwardly. I legit thought she broke her collarbone off that superplex. Other than that, I thought this match was fine. I could have done without Orange Cassidy.
Everyone can.
Yeah, except for Chris Statlander. She loves to freshly squeeze him. But I enjoyed it.
Skin tight denim.
Yeah. I enjoyed the offense. Dr. Britt Baker has improved a lot. I thought Chris Statlander looked fine, and I really liked the finish of the match.
Can I say something that is
really?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Well, they didn't like. I like that they didn't make Chris Statlander straight up tap out. So basically, she gave Chris a bunch of moves, then she kept kicking out and kicking out and kicking out. So finally, after one last kick out off the curb stomp, Chris Statlander just barely got her shoulder off the canvas, so Britt immediately went into the lockjaw, and Chris Statlander passed out. I thought that was a good finish.
Why does everyone have to pass out? Can't they just... That's the thing, is that every wrestling match now has people who, if they don't submit, they pass out. Because how many times have we seen Roman Reigns make somebody pass out?
Cesaro never recovered, just like we thought.
Yeah.
He's in a coma to this very day.
He has not woken up since.
No. Well, that doesn't bother me with Roman because a guillotine cuts off your oxygen supply, so that it makes sense to me. But this one made sense to me because she gave her a bunch of. I thought her Panama Sunrise looked gorgeous, and I love that they weren't even subtle about, hey, Adam Cole's going to be on the show later with that. And after she did that, she kicked out. She was a little weak off of that, and then she gave her a curb stomp, which weakened her some more. And she was already out and loopy before she put in the lockjaw. The lockjaw just kind of was the final straw that broke the camel's back and made her pass out. So I liked it.
Okay. Here's my issue. And most of this has to do with Chris Statlander, because I don't think Chris Statlander understands her role in this match. And this is what I mean by that. Britt is the obvious heel. She's coming out with Reba and McIntyre at ringside. or I forget what her actual name was. I'm sorry.
Rebel and someone.
Jamie Hayter?
Jamie Hayter.
Yeah, that's the one.
So
Jamie McIntyre.
So Reba and McIntyre at ringside, and so she's got the heel thing. Britt's obviously the heel in this, but then Statlander gets on top of Britt, and then she starts doing heel reactions, and I'm like, no, Chris, you gotta look, no. So she's being heelish, and that really diminished the fan reaction here. Fuck the Sling Blade. I hate it. I fucking hate it. Do you think we got a collar and elbow tie-up in this match? I'll spoil it for you. No, we didn't. The counter's at 1. We get a scissors kick, an ode to Booker T, but to Britt's back?
That was an Alicia Fox-styled scissors kick, and that is not a compliment.
Which was just bad. Speaking of that superplex, why would you not cover and go for a cover after that superplex, especially for how gritty it was? We already talked about intergalactic pussy lover Orange Cassidy.
I think the reason why she did not go for the cover is because I think that might have genuinely knocked her loop, because that was an ugly landing.
Yeah, well, and then I forgot to add this little bit. So Britt Baker apparently has a broken wrist. So what's the perfect thing to do to open up this match? To have Chris Statlander do a wrist lock on the other arm.
Because she's trying to break the other wrist.
You fucking idiot. It's just like, I feel like Supersonic fan Sammy right now. I'm just screaming viscerally at the top of my 6-year-old childlike lungs and yelling, idiots. This was just...
Oh,
and
God.
the Destroyer, now, that tag match with the Bucks is all but dead. They've got no moves to do now. There've already been a superplex, there's already been Destroyers, there's already been a pile driver. Christ, that's 3/4 of their whole arsenal. And then... here's why I asked you about this finish. Britt Baker, who's the obvious heel, and Chris Statlander, who thinks she should be one, are going to this finish where Britt Baker's trying, and she keeps kicking out, and that's supposed to give Chris Statlander some momentum. And then Britt just beats her flat. No cheating, no, I can't, she's too strong. She just wins. And this is one of those times where this is where you put a fuck finish. You have 2 women there who could distract the referee so that they could actually do something where she... I was about to say hoofs her in the nads. That's really funny. but cheating of some description, maybe, a couple fingers or whatever. And it's something that...
Hoof her in the space, pussy.
This was the time for a cheat finish. And they didn't do a cheat finish. This was time for the fuck finish. It would have helped Chris Statlander out, even if you weren't going to keep her in the title picture. It beat her flat. It just didn't do anything for Chris. I don't think this match helped Britt at all, because she just beat her. Thanks for coming. And I guess all the work that and sadly, this is why I made the point about Orange Cassidy, because Orange Cassidy cuts a fired up promo to Chris Statlander, and then that's the only thing that got the crowd actually somewhat invested in Chris Statlander. So, sadly, all the work that Orange Cassidy did, of all people, to make Chris Statlander cheerable, meant absolutely nothing, because of the way they booked the finish of this match.
I see what you mean.
Jericho lost... Hold on. May I remind people that Chris Jericho lost to Orange Cassidy for this?
Yeah.
I see what you mean, Sean, and I guess if you look at it that way, you're right. But for me, I saw it as she kept doing move after move to someone who would not go down, and she finally put on a submission after regular wrestling moves were not working, and that was more than Statlander could handle. She was trying to keep fighting, and she just couldn't take it anymore. That's how I perceived it.
Yeah, but it's just how many times do you have to kill this thing? It's not necessary. At some point, it's not a matter of, oh, look how resilient she is. It's more, okay, now I'm going to kill her dead by destroying her.
I see your point. I hear what you're saying, Joshua, and I don't necessarily disagree with you about the finish in that storytelling in that sense.
They could have done it better.
It just seems to me like this match could have been... The crowd could have been more into this match than it was, And I think part of that was the way that this went down.
You know, I think could have really worked is if she hit the Panama Sunrise, or the Pittsburgh Sunrise, thank you, Excalibur. If she would have hit that kick out, curb stomp kick out, and then she tries to go for the lockjaw, and Statlander counters it, hits the Big Bang Theory, and then interference that cost Statlander the match. I think that would have worked better.
Yeah,
whatever.
In either case, it wasn't the worst thing on the show. It wasn't the best thing on the show.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to a contender for one of the worst things on the show.
Okay.
Yeah, well, before we do, Alex Marvez is so painful as an interviewer. He's got the constant deer in the headlights look. He's like the guy who's like first day on the job, he's asked to like change a transmission. And he's like, Idolo, you're not wrestling tonight, and could you tell this big bad scary camera why? And Idolo goes, Chavo, and Chavo says something intelligible, and Marvez, instead of like reacting, kind of just like looks back at the camera, is like, well, this is going to be a match that happens on Dynamite.
I was kind of disappointed that we did not get Andrade versus Pac on this show. That was kind of disappointing.
Me too. I think that match would have I would have taken that match instead of the next match.
They are going to have that match. They are going to have that match. Actually, we're recording this on a Friday, so that match is probably happening right now as we speak.
As we speak.
Yeah.
Correct. But instead, we get to talk about this match, and I will leave this mostly to the two of you because I invoked, as many of you heard on the last week's podcast, Skyler and I did a you can skip one rule, and Skyler used the pre-show, and I kind of half-used mine to only pay attention to maybe like 36% of this match. So I just didn't really pay much attention. So I'm going to let the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in the gymnastics meet cage match. I'm going to leave this to the two of you. JoshAgeddon, since this is also your show, why don't you take this away?
Okay. For me personally, I really, really liked the last half of this match. The first half I thought was fine, but it was just a bunch of moves and a bunch of cage spots, a bunch of things I've already seen before. But when the Young Bucks introduced the thumbtack sneaker, I thought that's when things really picked up. The crowd got really into it. I thought there was some great near falls. I loved the juice in the match. And I really liked the finish too, although I will say it was kind of weird how Phoenix did the huge dive off the top of the cage on all three of them, and then Pentagon just pops up immediately, and then they hit their double team finisher and win. I thought that was a little weird that Pentagon just popped right up just so they can do their move, but I understand why, and a lot of people are saying this is like the greatest cage match of all time. I strongly disagree. I really liked the second half of this match. The first half was kind of but I will give this match one thumb up. I did enjoy this match. It could have been shorter, like every Young Bucks match ever. It was too long, but I did enjoy it for the most part.
Like every match on this show, it could have been shorter.
Dude, every pay-per-view and every like episode of Dynamite I've ever seen, the Young Bucks matches are like 2 times longer than everyone else's matches on every show I've ever seen them on, and it's kind of annoying.
And they don't need to be.
Yeah, all of their matches would be better if they were shorter. Every single one, every single Young Buck match I've ever seen, always the same complaint: too long.
Fair enough. Now,
well, Skyler, what about you?
So, Joshua, are you done giving your opinion?
Yes.
Because I'm going to.
You're wrong.
Because you're wrong. This was the second worst match on the show.
Hard disagree.
Wanna know why? Because,
why, Skyler?
Well, first off, it's Team America versus Team Mexico at the Gymnastics Olympics, and by God, they did every move possibly known to man. What's the problem with that? They did every possible move known to man. At least we got it halfway through the show and not at the beginning of the show like the Bucks usually like to do, because that means that most of the moves were saved for the first 3 matches. Afterwards, it didn't matter. But let's just get into the big problem with this. The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers combined weigh 200 pounds soaking wet. They are doing all these moves that don't have any sort of feel or power. They just do them to do them. And Joshua, you say the thumbtacks is when the match really got on, right?
For me and the audience in the arena, yes.
The fans got into it.
Yes,
yeah.
The fans were going crazy for I know you two despise the Young Bucks, but I will say you have to admit the crowd did come alive for this matchup.
And that is fair, and I will give the crowd that. But the crowd is stupid and wrong about themselves. Because the thumbtacks got them excited. The thumbtacks is when I checked out because I knew they were not going to be serious. Because a thumbtack, as much as it hurts, does not win a match.
I mean,
does not win a match.
You're glossing over the fact that, first of all, Brandon Cutler heaved that fucking patch.
Yes, he did, which was hilarious. And it was impressive.
And second of all, how ridiculous is it that the big Triple H is to the sledgehammer when a couple of fucking shoes is to the Young
You are so right. They are obsessed with shoes.
It's the stupidest weapon of choice on the planet.
No.
And I will say one thing that I thought...
Hold on, Sean. You cannot say that because Joey Ryan's dick.
That is my favorite weapon on the planet. Anyway, continue.
Just because you like sucking off other men doesn't make it a weapon.
Penis power!
I feel like there's quite a lot of people who do that who would disagree with you, Skyler.
I'm sure these motherfuckers are taking the dick flip, and I hate it. Anyways.
The one thing I will say before you continue that I thought was kind of dumb, everyone that got hit with attacks bladed and were juicing. Except for, I think it was Matt Jackson. He got hit right in the face with it, and I think he, forgot to gig or something, and everyone else was bleeding except for him. And I was like, you got hit in the face with tacks, dude.
Well, they all had to spread HIV except for this guy who clearly did not want any, and he was the smart one.
Well, if you're not going to gig, then don't do the spot.
But he's the one who got the shoe, guys.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those things where this is stupid because we have to watch these guys do every pile driver variation known to man, every super kick variation known to man, every Canadian Destroyer version known to man, sling blades, DDTs, they did everything, and this is the problem with knowing how to do too many moves and doing everything you know how to do. There's nothing to do. It's like...
Yeah, all these moves had already been done in the 4 matches prior, which is another part of this as well. That's why I was so shocked that the Young Bucks went on this late, because most of their shit was already done, as if they cared about the value of moves, but...
And here is the thing about this match. The moves would be fine if any of these 4 guys sold it. They take Canadian Destroyers off the top rope and get up within a minute. You should be lying around on the ground for a little bit. You took a thumbtack to the face, a thumbtack shoot to the face, and you pop right up immediately and start punching people while bleeding. That fucking finish where they did the crossbody off the top of the cage and then, Phoenix does the crossbody and lands on all 3 guys, and Penta just gets up after 30 seconds, does a power driver.
30 seconds is generous.
The crossbody should have been the end of the match. Phoenix should have covered the Bucks and win, and that's it. No, they have to do a pile driver tag finisher. Just to make sure that the Bucks are dead. Apparently the Bucks are superheroes or something.
Well, they have been for the past, guys, since they beat FTR, who were just...
God fucking damn it!
The anguish of Skyler Greenberg.
I'm getting more angry than I should be about this, but I am, because the fucking Young Bucks buried FTR for this bullshit. To bristle these matches for the past year over and over and over fucking again. These guys,
see why I only half paid attention to this match?
But I will say, in winning, the Lucha Brothers got over like crazy. The crowd lost it when they won.
And the Lucha Brothers are Mexican Young Bucks. They're going to do the same match again and again.
Skyler, breathe. I don't care. I like the Lucha Brothers. I really do like them. I like them a whole hell of a lot more than I like the Young Bucks.
Agreed.
The crowd was crazy for them.
They're the Mexican Young Bucks.
I think they're better than the Young Bucks. But the crowd went crazy for them. I thought it was hilarious when Pentagon, covered in blood, hugged his children, and then his children were covered in blood. That made me belly laugh. And then they gave them a minute. They gave them time to celebrate, and then we moved on. I will give this entire match a thumbs up. Crucify me. Crucify me.
I do have some thoughts of the stuff that I have seen of this, because you guys have been doing a terrific job of loving / hating life itself. And here's, first of all, what was with this Lucha Brothers entrance?
It was so wacky.
It was banana wacky. And not gonna lie to you, varsity jackets just don't do it for the Lucha Brothers. Of all the things that you assholes could have worn to the ring, and you choose varsity jackets, and you have a team, you have the varsity blondes on your roster.
Who already wear the jackets.
The rest was fine, the rap was bad.
Yeah.
Then we get Justin Roberts turning into Chewbacca for a second when he was saying Ray Phoenix's name.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And then the Young Bucks come out with fake tans that look really bad.
What is Nick doing to his face?
What aren't they doing to their face?
Why is his mustache and beard 2 different colors?
Somebody needs to fire their hairstylist.
I will say I got really... they did it in a heelish way, so I get the idea. But when he did the pinky swirl for like that Randy Savage used to do, I legit got a little annoyed at that. But they're heels, and they're trying to make you mad in that way, so...
And their whole thing is that they just want to remind you of all the people who actually could do wrestlers. They're great imitation wrestlers. They can imitate everybody, but then Don Callis, who's on commentary, Christ.
Yeah.
But then he said maybe the line of the whole night. Or the line of the night when Excalibur, I think Cutler, first of all, I think it was Tony Schiavone who's like, thank God that, or no, I think it was Excalibur who said, thank God Brandon Cutler is recording this for posterity on pay-per-view, on the internet. You fucking moron. Why are you on this commentary?
Excalibur is atrocious.
Then he's like, oh, well, somebody's bringing contraband into the ring. And
yeah.
Don Callis is like, how is it contraband if it's legal?
Yeah, that is true. How is it contraband if there's no DQ?
And Excalibur, understandably so, had no response.
Yep. Excalibur is a fucking doof.
Then Excalibur calls the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker the Yada Garatsu or whatever the fuck. And JR's like, yeah, the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker.
I need a sitcom of Excalibur just saying and doing stupid things and Jim Ross just being sad and disappointed.
This is what makes me so sad about JR leaving the commentary booth. 9 times out of 10, he's the one I relate to the most.
Just making fun of Excalibur for being an idiot.
Just shitting on the fact that everybody's shitting on the wrestling. And then Tony's just like starts throwing, oh, you're so full of shit.
Oh yeah, that made me laugh.
And I'm like, all right, Tony, easy, but okay.
And then someone said, we apologize for the colorful language, and Tony was like, hell no, I'm not apologizing. And then someone in the ring said the F word, and Tom Callis said, well, there's some salty language in the ring right now. And I'm like, everyone needs to relax.
Yeah,
that Captain America is just watching this show in horror.
Omega Elf watching AEW All Out and saying, Elfberg's sad, bad language.
Elfberg called Tony Khan, clean up show.
Wash your mouth out with soap and water.
Elfberg, report this to Better Business Bureau.
This not friendly for Christian Minecraft server.
No. Well, and then the one thing we forgot about the stupid thumbtack shoe. Then Matt put it the fuck on and wrestled with it.
Yep.
With the rest of this.
What's so stupid about it?
He's wrestling with a shoe that has thumbtacks on the bottom.
And
then does the super kick and then the rest of this matchup. And I couldn't believe how bored I am for a steel cage tag team match. The way I was 2/3 of this. Rick Knox is absolutely fucking useless.
Well, he's always useless.
But this was... My final words on this was Lucha Brothers win, which is great because the Young Bucks aren't. But this is a bit of a lateral move, isn't it? The fans loved it. I did not. And then we get the final line of the Dapper Yapper Justin Roberts.
Dapper Yapper, why?
Okay, anyways, may I introduce the next match?
We have varying opinions.
Yeah, you thought that this was going to get better, folks. Buckle up, Teddy.
I will say one thing I love about our shows is we don't just blindly agree with each other all the time. At least on our shows, you are going to get diverse, different opinions on things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And speaking of opinions...
We're all going to have the same exact opinion on this match.
Speaking of opinions, the 21-woman Casino Battle Royale for a future AEW Women's World Championship match.
This
Joshua,
match
I'm gonna let
sucked.
you go first.
This match sucked. This was the worst thing on the show.
And at this point, I would like Joshua to shut up and let Sean talk.
Sean, you have the con.
Okay, here's my deal. I'm going to make this rant. I'm only going to say this once, and I'm going to do it Stephen A. Smith style, real quiet like, and emphasize points that actually aren't points. Now, I like women's wrestling. I want to get that right off the bat. I want to premise this with I like women's wrestling. I like when two women's wrestlers who know how to wrestle and can work can compete in a ring where one person can go over the other and feel the same kind of emotions and tell a story that the men do. And for the women who can do this and have the ability to do this, I would love to see them featured on a prominent basis and on a basis where they feel just as important as the men. However, how many women's wrestlers can you say over the course of AEW and WWE can actually do that? 10? 12? You could combine the women's rosters of AEW and WWE, cut 89% of it, and you'd have a viable women's roster. Women's wrestling now, just because you can, doesn't mean you should. I've said it before. If you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. And this match is the perfect case for fewer women's matches in professional wrestling. Because there are simply not enough good quality women's wrestlers to make it on par or have the same amount of matches as the men. Quality over quantity. And this match is exactly why there needs to be that kind of standard held for the women.
That's not as controversial as I thought you were going to say.
I 110% agree with that. This honestly reminded me of the women's Money in the Bank ladder match this year.
You could argue it's worse.
I honestly hated that match more, but this was still pretty bad. There were two things I liked in this match. Thunder Rosa. She's awesome.
Who's great.
She's awesome.
She's arguably the only women's wrestler on this match.
And Layla Hirsch.
Okay.
I really like Layla Hirsch. Her German suplexing Nyla Rose was fantastic. And then she got dumped out. Like a dork.
Like so many... Well, let's start at the beginning, shall we?
Oh, God.
We get Hikaru Shida out first, which I actually liked because she's the former women's champion, and she has had a hell of a long reign, and it'd be nice, could she go wire to wire, even though this isn't the exact same format? I thought that her, for what AEW has done up to this point going first, was good. But she's not bad, but nobody ever looks good in these things.
Yeah. Sky
Blue is hot. Emi Sakura is got a garage band, an intro that somebody made out of garage band. Cause it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really, really bad.
The bunny tried to eat the camera.
What the fuck is the bunny's mask?
A bunny.
Yes, but it's just it's nightmare fuel. Yes.
And I also got to see her tonsils.
And then Abaddon, speaking of things that are supposed to be frightening. But, God, I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw this girl work on the sanitation at the porta potties at my work a week ago. She's so small. She's just... I understand she's trying to go for that alternative punk rock deal, and considering who won this matchup, I find that a little ironic.
Don't even get me started.
Did we get a collar and a bow tie?
Of course not.
What do you think, Sean?
No, we did not.
We got some really shitty punches.
Then Abaddon did these rock'em sock'em robot punches. I don't know whether you noticed this. They're like just straight out forward jabs that look so bad.
One of my favorite things that just made me laugh was they made a big deal about how Sky Blue, who's super hot, and that's it, how she was a big name in Chicago. She was a Chicago hometown girl. Immediately poses on the apron and gets eliminated. That made me laugh.
Because she's dumb.
Sometimes AEW feels scarily like WWE because that's the exact same thing WWE would have done.
Well, I did get quite a few WWE vibes from this show in certain matches. Yeah. And this was one of them.
Oh, yeah. And before we continue, one thing that really bothered me about this match, the production of this match was terrible. It took forever for the cards to show up on the screen, and half the time, they just cut straight to the entrances before the card suit was even shown on the screen. And why bother even doing this stupid gimmick match if you're not even going to actually do the stupid gimmick match? It was super janky, and I did not like it.
Can AEW get better production? That's one of the things that holds them back, is that all their shit looks like a super indie promotion.
Yep.
Instead of looking like... As much as WWE's production annoys me, it still looks professional.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
There really is... I mean, I feel like with WWE, it's just Kevin Dunn not being able to see the camera behind his massive teeth. With AEW... It feels like people are doing cheesy angles for the sake of being cheesy, and I feel like it just adds to the whole corniness of the show's tone. And it's like when they do a lot of the smash zooms and all the, the big zoom ins and zoom outs, when they used to do that with the Hug Buddies, the Best Flans, and they would do all that kind of stuff. Then the bunny skips around a Romero special like a total moron.
Oh, God, I hated that.
Anna Jay comes in with a hockey fight. Half these women are forgettable. Thunder Rosa gets something of a pop. And then the biggest entrance pop of the night goes to the stick in the dress.
Which stick in the dress?
Riho.
The stick in the dress.
When the crowd popped for Riho, I could feel Sean's soul dying.
Because she's popular with that fan base.
I was going to say, yeah, what are you supposed to do? They booked her as their first AEW Women's Champion. They made her as valuable as they possibly could, although I disagree with the fact that she was, for several reasons. But when it comes to AEW canon, there's no reason she shouldn't get a pop.
And then she immediately gets a botch elimination. Immediately. It was weird.
Yep.
It's just weird watching. She's billed at 99 pounds.
Jesus.
And she's probably 75.
Ounces. 75 ounces.
75 ounces. By the way, Sean, do you know why I almost gave you Abandon in that, or Abaddon in that draft that we did for NWO and ACPW?
Because from what I saw, she was abjectly unusable.
Exactly. There is nothing you can do with zombie girl gimmick who looks like a pudgy pregnant woman.
You know who you could get? You know who you could give me that would piss me off?
Wait! Oh my God!
Oh no!
I've got the perfect gimmick for her.
Oh no!
She could be the fucking Hornswoggle to Alexa Bliss.
Oh no! Oh no!
Nailed it.
Oh God!
You better not. You better not.
Oh Jesus! Please, Sean, do it. Do it.
No.
This is like
even has Alexa Bliss as Shillelagh.
Sean, all green. They're all wearing green.
Yeah, he actually turned her zombie leprechaun Abaddon.
And instead of all the makeup, just dirt makeup.
That's perfect.
Just instead of all of the makeup, just a bunch of dirt on her face like Hornswoggle.
Wait, hold on. Didn't Hornswoggle do a zombie leprechaun movie?
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up.
Okay, Sean, I love
have a wedding between Abaddon and Swoggle.
Book it. Book it. Sean, I feel
leprechaun origins. God damn it.
Sean, I feel like with you having this idea. Me and Skyler are like the devil and the angel on your shoulders. I'm the devil saying do it, and Sean's the angel saying don't.
God damn it, he was in a movie called Leprechaun Origins featuring an undead leprechaun. God damn it.
There you go.
So are you gonna bring Hornswoggle into this and make it a... God.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes, do it.
Maybe I'll add Dink, Dank, and Jank, or whoever the little leprechauns were there, the little people that you gave him for NWL.
And make them zombies. And make them
All
zombies.
Those people are dead.
Bring them back to life as zombies.
See, zombie movie. Zombie wedding, guy.
And hopefully you get paid for it for $1 million and it stars Dave Bautista too.
He's gonna be the priest.
Deacon Bautista.
Deacon Bautista.
Okay.
This is derailed. Completely derailed.
To sum up with our opinions of this women's casino
Wait.
battle
Before you
royale,
continue, Sean,
we're
before
going
you
to have
continue.
a wedding officiated by Reverend Devon and Deacon Batista featuring Swoggle and Abaddon, who is the Hornswoggle to Alexa Bliss. And all the little dink-donks are going to be revitalized, whether they're alive or dead or not.
They're going to be the bridesmaids.
And they're going to be zombie bridesmaids. They're all going to be wearing tuxes and veils. It's going to be a great time. It's so that's our opinion of this match.
Dude.
Then Ruby Riot shows up.
Wait, hang on. Before you continue, I will say there is one person that, like, you were talking about people you gave to their show just to piss them off. You know who you could make me draft on SWCG that would piss me off?
Who?
Big Swole. I fucking hate Big Swole.
She's the actual worst.
Everything she does annoys me. She's loud and obnoxious, and she was being loud and obnoxious to a person that she eliminated, and that is why she was eliminated. And I was like, good! Anyway.
By the way, do you want to know who her husband is?
Cedric Alexander.
Little Swole.
Little Swole. Cedric, you can do better.
Well, Cedric is also a little bit of a loudmouth, so...
But he's not obnoxious, and he's a good wrestler.
Prime Alexander.
Well.
But then Ruby Riot won the match.
Yeah, so Ruby Riot, which is what JR calls her.
Yes, Ruby Riot.
And so Ruby, so what?
That's perfect. That is perfect.
And genuinely, I was like, are they trying to underwhelm themselves with these casino battle royales? Because Leo Rush was pretty underwhelming. And then Ruby, she gets into the ring and whips every elbow she tries to give to Nyla Rose.
She sucks so hard. I was so sad when she eliminated Thunder Rosa. The wrong person won this match.
Well, in terms of who the better worker is, I agree. Thunder Rosa would have been great to win this. It would have been nice to see that match. However, to play the devil's advocate here, at the very least...
They gave the crowd what they wanted.
They gave the crowd what they wanted, and they made somebody feel more important than she did when she was in WWE by an immediate debut win.
That doesn't mean that she deserves it.
I will pull a Skyler and say the crowd is fucking dumb.
I also agree with that.
Yeah. Ruby Soho is garbage.
Everyone is saying, oh, this is finally her opportunity to shine because she never got an opportunity in WWE.
Yeah, she did. She sucked.
She never got an opportunity in WWE because she's small and she's not very good.
She whiffs every move she does, and she gets injured because she's just terrible. I still remember at Survivor Series last year when I think it was Shayna Baszler tried to throw a roundhouse kick and Ruby was supposed to dodge it. She didn't and got clocked because she's an idiot.
Yep.
And on AEW Dynamite, she had a match with someone. I think it was Jamie Hayter. And they did some kind of spot that was horrifically botched because of Ruby Soho mistiming it. She tried to do a Poison Rana, but Ruby didn't go over and just kind of fell over and it looked awkward. Ruby, so what, is garbage. End of statement.
Yeah.
You couldn't get Tessa Blanchard or Emma or someone else who's actually good.
I know, right?
Like, I know Tessa's Tessa, but come on, you're working with Impact. You could get Emma over.
Also, Sean, you thought you were controversial. You thought you were controversial earlier. Here's something controversial. Ruby So What is also just the most ugly human being I've ever seen in my life. I know that in the grand scheme of things that doesn't matter, but I prefer my women's wrestlers to be at least mildly attractive.
It's like Ruby Riot is the hornswoggle to Rhea Ripley.
Yeah. Yeah, that is perfect.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that is pretty much,
Wow. Like Rhea Ripley is what Ruby Riot should be, but she's about 5 inches too short.
And 500 times better Rhea's 500 times better as a wrestler.
Yeah. So, being the best girl, not best girl, maid of honor at this hornswoggle-esque abandoned wedding will be Ruby Riot.
Yep, and her name will be Ruby Riot.
Now we just need the best man for Hornswoggle.
Well, what's Jericho doing lately?
Wrestling MJF.
Let's find out.
Beating MJF.
It's MJF versus Chris Jericho, and oh god, in a feud ending in a match ender of a singles match in a feud that included a 5 trials of, or 5 whatever the courtships of Chris
labors.
Jericho, I don't know, fuck. Oh yeah, the labors, which included but was not limited to, in no particular order, Garbage Deathman Pizza Cutter,
the bank addicted drug robber,
Juventud Guerrera, for no fucking reason, Wardlow, MJF beating Chris Jericho immediately after that, Chris Jericho falling onto a crash pad in a War Games match.
I like how you completely skipped Sean Spears as the first labor of Jericho.
Who's Sean Spears?
Who's so
Was he worth mentioning?
No. Joshua, do you know who Sean Spears is?
Who?
Ty Dillinger.
Who?
Okay.
Continue.
Anyway.
10.
And then, we also, in this whole grand scheme of things, we also have the football field match.
With the half-pig carcass things.
They have been doing this feud for 9+ months.
Jesus.
No, it's not been 9 months. It's been a year.
Ugh.
It's been too long. Too long. This match has gone down, and this was just... What was with MJF's King of Town from Homestar Runner entrance robe?
He stole Jerry the King Lawler's
robe.
robe.
That's what I was thinking.
No, that was like Sheamus's King of the Ring robe.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was the same color and everything. You're right. By the way, I would like to start a petition for replacing "Yo Mama is so fat" jokes with "Chris Jericho is so fat." Chris Jericho is so fat when he goes to the beach, people shout a whale. Chris Jericho is so fat he looks like the fusion dance of Eva Marie and Piper Niven
when they mess it up.
Chris Jericho is so fat if you take a pizza cutter to his stomach, you could feed all the orphans at El Generico's orphanage in Mexico.
All right, I got one. Chris Jericho is so fat that when I rang the doorbell, he answered the microwave. Moving on.
Joshua, you got anything to add to this?
No, yeah. Continue.
All right, well, here comes 2 run-ins of Chris Jericho. Oh, then Mr.
The run-ins of Chris Jericho.
Oh, God, I've got a terrible one. All
right, continue.
Chris Jericho's so fat, Yokozuna's like, God, how did I die first?
Jesus.
Elfberg, get on standby.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Simon Dean keeps trying to offer him protein shakes.
I literally put my head in my hands after that one. That one was terrible.
Oh, Lord.
Chris Jericho is so fat he needed to borrow Yokozuna's truck to get to the ring.
Chris Jericho's so fat that even DDP is like, you're fucked, bro.
Chris Jericho is so fat, DDP says it's supposed to work the other way.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
By the way, all these jokes we're making were more entertaining than this match. Chris Jericho was blown up within 3 minutes, and this went 20.
This was so long. This match just went so long. There was way too much feedback on this guitarist's entrance, so nobody could actually sing the song.
Yeah.
Which I thought was actually pretty funny, but I also thought it was like, somebody was not, I hope, miking this guy up properly.
Production in AEW is bad. Horse, meet collar.
Yeah, I mean, but I do like, here's the thing, though. I do like the idea of Jericho having a more reserved entrance in order to add to the severity of the situation. Even though this is like, this feud started at the finish and worked its way to the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I didn't know that this was the Curious Case of Benjamin Button show, but did we get a collar and elbow tie-up?
Maybe.
Care to vote? JoshAgeddon?
Maybe.
Well, you're both right.
But was it a good collar and elbow
Chris
tie-up?
Jericho's drop kick was poopy.
Poopy.
And it was just, we did get one, by the way. We did get one, but.
Okay, good.
Then we get yet another hockey fight.
Well, I mean, Jericho is Canadian, so.
We were endless hockey fights, and I think there was a hockey fight in almost every match. There was a 1-2 in almost every match that I got sick of watching. And then the rules just left.
Remember when you said Aubrey Edwards was the best referee in AEW? This match tried its damnedest to prove you wrong.
This was, and then, of all the people to do that for, of all the people who I would have thought would have actually paid attention more to the rules, these two. Shame.
I cannot believe. I can obviously believe that they broadened the crowd forever and the referee never counted. I cannot believe that he threw that anvil or whatever it was right at MJF's head and the referee just did not say a word.
Didn't care.
Like, really, Aubrey? Really?
And this wasn't even a no DQ match.
Yeah.
They never are.
Now I'm about to anger both of you. That annoyed me, but I thought this match, while a little bit long, I enjoyed this match.
It was still a wrestling match, which at its core I can't be mad at.
Yes.
It wasn't a good wrestling match because Chris Jericho can't do anything in the ring anymore.
I thought it was
2 or 3 minutes.
I thought it was a good wrestling match.
MJF is a godly seller and worker.
Yes, MJF pretty much carried this entire match.
Because he hit a lot of what Jericho was trying to hide.
Yeah.
And then...
Jericho had moments here and there, but this was an MJF masterclass in this match.
Yeah. Here's my summary of this whole matchup. In one sentence. It's a match of Jericho's greatest hits in slow motion.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm impressed that he can still do a halfway decent lion salt.
Let's not call it
everything out of him to do that lion salt. That was like a puppy salt.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give him credit. He tried and he got off the ground. I thought it looked okay.
Who got more blown up in their matches, Chris Jericho or Goldberg?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well, Jericho wasn't blown up prior to the match, so I don't know if that's a fair comparison.
That is true.
But it is interesting that Jericho and Goldberg had heat with each other, and yet they ended up behaving the exact same way.
Goldberg is so fat, whenever he goes to the ring, he eats his sparklers.
So, why, though? Wouldn't that burn calories?
That's why he's trying to eat. He's like, get this weight off of me.
And then we see a top rope code breaker counter that was followed or was preceded by Chris Jericho's best ode to Kevin Owens' pop-up powerbomb that MJF did 79,000% of the work for.
Yeah.
I didn't know MJF could self-powerbomb himself, but hey, good job, man.
And someone screamed at the top of their lungs, "Oh shit," and I thought it was because Jericho almost dropped him.
Yeah.
And I started laughing.
That's because he almost did drop him.
I heard a loud, "Oh shit," and then they showed several replays, and every replay was like a loud, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
That was basically what I was doing this match, is like, who did MJF piss off to have to work this types of matches with Chris Jericho?
For a year. For a year.
Yeah, this feud is... you're very much right. This feud has gone on way too long, and it's been going backwards. It's very, very odd.
I mean, it's just... It was so... And then then there's you want to talk about pointless run-ins. So Wardlow shows up and Jake Hager shows up. They don't even get to the ring. They brawl with each other and fight off.
They did that to distract. They did that to distract the referee, so MJF could hit Jericho with the bat.
How did MJF know that those two were going to come out there?
It's contrived. I know.
It was so dumb. But then the finish, I loved the finish of MJF pinning Jericho and putting the foot on the ropes and doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
A
And
heel cheated to win the match.
Yep.
A heel cheated to win the match. And
then Paul Turner comes and makes the correction, and this is, again, I wouldn't hate this if this was something that they always did. But they had a point where Aubrey wasn't making any attempt at a count out. Then they did a threat of a count out later in the match.
Yeah.
And so this was like, okay,
selectively enforcing the rules.
When you enforce the rules, and it's like this again. It just hurt the whole thing, and then Jericho turning around, and the crowd actually did get into that a little bit, but it was super sloppy, super slow, and again, MJF had to do 99% of the work. It's just, I understand it made sense for what they were going for, but MJF should have won this and left Jericho in the dust, and we all just moved on.
I will say one thing about the finish of this match, the whole thing. I loved how MJF was selling his back ever since at the point where he got that scary looking powerbomb on the apron. He sold his back the rest of the match very well, and it played into.
He did that Ric Flair scream and whine into the camera.
Yeah, and that played into him tapping to the walls of Jericho. So I liked that.
Right.
And the other thing too, though, is that they had the perfect finish for this match with MJF cheating to win and retiring Chris Jericho, and then Jericho won because the referees decided, nope, we're not going to let that finish go. Continue. So hold on, I have a question. The referee in the back saw it and went to the referee in the ring, and they restarted the match, right?
Yes. Well, one of the referees that came out to stop Jake Hager and Wardlow.
Why don't they do this for every wrestling match in the history of time?
Because that would break wrestling, Skyler.
Exactly. That's the other thing, too. Remember that one time in WWE, and I'm going to date myself with this one, when Jack Swagger and Alberto Del Rio were wrestling for a #1 contendership for Dolph Ziggler's World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep, I remember this.
And Jack Swagger won because the towel was thrown in by Ricardo Rodriguez, when in reality it was...
Well, it was thrown in by Zeb Coulter.
And then the referee was told by another referee, and then they went to replay with a tablet at ringside to see what happened and restarted the match so that Alberto Del Rio could win. Yeah,
it was an I Quit match at Extreme Rules 2013 because it was originally supposed to be a triple threat ladder match, but Jack Swagger kicked Dolph Ziggler in the face, gave him a concussion, and then the next time we saw Dolph Ziggler, he lost the world title to a super kick.
After Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler did a double turn at Money in the Bank.
Payback.
Sean, have we lost you?
It was payback.
Chris Jericho's so fat that the walls of Jericho's break before he can lock in the move.
Can you imagine Jericho sitting on your back?
No.
Jericho's so fat that when he put in the walls of Jericho, I tapped out.
Chris Jericho is so fat, if you sit next to him, you can hear people from his stomach saying, "Help me."
Oh my God.
Chris Jericho's so fat, Elfberg can't lift him.
Chris Jericho's so fat that people don't get cholesterol problems anymore. They get Chris Jericho problems now.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Hogan truly believes he lifted him above his head and broke his back at WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome. And he'll tell that story in every interview he's got.
Chris Jericho is so fat, he is Andre the Giant.
Chris Jericho's so fat that if MJF superplexed him, the ring would have collapsed.
That's not funny.
But it's cool to think about. If WWE hadn't rehashed that spot a million times.
He is the wrestling ring and wrestling at the same time.
Yes. My Yokozuna joke was the best one. Continue.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Judas is in his gut. Shall we move on? People in the comments, put down your best Chris Jericho is fat jokes.
Yes, comments down below. Give us your best Chris Jericho's so fat jokes.
Keep them coming, folks. Well, now we've got something actually really, really enjoyable to talk about. It is the debut after 7 years. CM Punk versus Darby Allin. Now, Joshua, I know that this particular individual is your favorite wrestler, so please tell us what you thought about Darby Allin.
Okay, as you all know, and as Sean just said, CM Punk is my all-time favorite wrestler. I've loved him. He was honestly, he became my favorite wrestler, and then he immediately lost the WWE titles to The Rock, so I felt like I cursed him. But
maybe
he has been my favorite wrestler for a long time, and I never actually believed that he would be back in wrestling again, and I was kind of okay with it, because most CM Punk fans are like, I wish he would come back. Under the circumstances why he went away, I was like, I would rather him be alive than wrestle and die.
Yeah.
From, like, all the issues that he had, like the staph infection and the severe depression and everything like that. I was just more happy that he was, still alive than anything else.
It looked great tonight.
Tonight, I thought this was hands down the best thing on the show. As a CM Punk super fan, I adored this match. He looked like he did not miss a beat. This was not a 5-star classic. This was not a all-time greatest matchup. This was a simple, straight-up wrestling match. CM Punk and Darby Allin worked perfectly together. CM Punk won. I thought this was great. I loved this match. The crowd was hot. Just 2 thumbs up. This made the pay-per-view for me.
Well, let me give you my opinion as the non-CM Punk super fan. Are you ready,
and
guys?
The only reason you watched this show was for this match.
Yes, and all I can say is, look in my eyes, what do you see?
Chris Jericho, because he's so fat.
I was thinking the same thing! Sean, I was going to say the same thing!
Probably gonna
you whore, you stole it from me.
I am not the biggest CM Punk fan, but I have to admit I did watch this match and the show because of him. I don't regret it for this match because this was a good wrestling match.
Mm-hmm.
Mussolini!
Mussolini!
Well, I guess that's... am I Mussolini here? I guess I'll continue here.
Wait, Sean. He tells you 1 and 1 makes Chris Jericho's fat. Anyway, continue.
Well, I have to agree with both of these individuals about everything aforementioned. But what I really liked CM Punk wearing tights.
Oh yeah, me too.
I like that it's different than the trunks they used to wear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And sitting down got a pop, because of course it did.
Yes.
Did we get a collar and elbow tie-up, gentlemen?
Yes, we did.
We sure did. And 3 collar and elbow tie-ups, that is going to be the final counter on the night. I'm sure you're not surprised.
Not at all. I not going to lie, I popped when they did the collar and elbow tie-up, and Darby did the arm drag out of the collar and elbow tie-up, and CM Punk was like, all right, you little MFer, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to show you how to wrestle. Because you just pissed me off. I loved that.
Well, let me tell you everything about this that I liked about it, is Darby Allin. One of my biggest complaints, and now you both know, I've not been Darby Allin's biggest fan. I've said as such several times. But I knew that if he had somebody like CM Punk who could lead him through a wrestling match, he'd have a very good wrestling match. Because he always lays his stuff in, as small as he is, he always tries to make it look like he's trying to hurt somebody other than himself, which is most of the time what happens.
Yeah.
But CM Punk is the perfect person to showcase Darby Allin's strengths and make him feel more valuable than when he came into the match. And that's exactly what this match accomplished. I've never been so invested in a fucking hammerlock before.
I know! I know the counters to CM Punk's counters to the hammerlock and the roll through and everything, and then just immediately letting go of it to try to catch him with the roll up. I loved that. That was so good.
Yeah.
It's the little things, ladies and gentlemen. It's the little things.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like, for example, you can tell that Punk changed his pace to ensure that Darby looked faster.
Dude, think about this. The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers did 10 million moves, and I was like, that was a pretty good match. Darby Allin and CM Punk did an extended hammerlock, and I loved it.
They sit down and do a hammerlock.
And it is 1,000 times more entertaining.
They slowed down. That's the thing, is that they allowed the moves to breathe.
Yes.
The problem with AEW's roster, and specifically the Young Bucks, is they move so fucking fast that you don't have time to register it. But these guys, they were important enough to know that, hey, keep it slow, focus on it, let the people see what you're doing, and let them cool down after a move, and then move on to the next one.
It is astonishing that they got so much out of a hammerlock that the other two teams could not get out of 8,000 moves and thumbtacks.
Yep.
It's
and that's the thing, though, is
insane.
that the roster, as it gets better, it's going to expose people like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega who really can't do anything except do 1,000-mile-an-hour matches.
I'll tell you what, personally, we'll talk about this more in the next match, in the main event, but the biggest flaw and the weakest wrestlers, I thought, on the entire show were the executive vice presidents.
That's clear and stay.
And that's going to be a problem. And I think Tony Khan knows that. And I think the Young Bucks and Olivier know that, because they very well could get stripped of that EVP power because they have no shares of AEW. Tony Khan made sure not to.
Say what you will about Tony Khan. Him not giving them shares was a smart move.
But the thing, though, is that he gave them the EVP power, and they've been in control for a long time now, for the past 2 years. So they've been able to do what they want. But now that the roster is getting better, there's no reason for them to be in the spotlight anymore. Here's the thing, though. Every strike CM Punk did, his MMA training, I know he was 0-1-1 in MMA fighting, but CM Punk's MMA training has really helped out because his strikes were so good.
Oh, yes.
They looked like they hit a lot more than they used to.
Agreed.
And what was cool is that Punk occasionally was kind of teasing some heelish stuff, because this was a babyface match. But you know that if he's going to turn heel, it's not going to be right away, obviously.
Oh,
but there were little kind of winks and nods to know that might be where that's heading.
Because we all know that CM Punk is a better heel than a babyface.
Agreed.
Yeah. And it was just fun. This whole match was fun. And
this
it was a
so much
wrestling
fun.
match, and the right person got over.
Yep.
And,
Dude.
it was long. It was still a little bit long because it is AEW, but all in all, this was pound for pound the best match of the night. Absolutely.
The way Darby sold these go-to-sleeps, it was just like he cold-cocked him both times and he was dead both times. And I loved, there were callbacks to some of CM Punk's greatest matches in this match. Like the GTS that knocked Darby to the outside. That was a callback to Money in the Bank. Darby goes for the coffin drop. CM Punk does the Undertaker sit-up and then almost gets crucifixed. That was a reference to the match with Rey Mysterio at Over the Limit 2010, the hair versus mask match. I love the callbacks in this match.
And you notice Darby Allin, all of his stuff, Darby Allin, I think, is maybe the best homegrown talent AEW has.
Probably.
I know everyone goes for dives and whatever. Darby Allin's the only one who goes for a dive and looks like he's trying to hurt someone when he's doing the dive.
He puts everything he puts everything into these dives. Like, a bunch of people just do dives and they immediately get up. Darby, it's like, I don't care if this kills me. I'm going to get some damage in if it kills me or whatever. As long as it hurts, I'm still going to do it anyway. And you can feel it whenever he does a dive.
Yeah, and you can also tell that Punk was like, I did not expect it to hurt this much.
Oh yeah, when he did the springboard backsplash in the ring, it looked like he knocked Punk silly, and Punk was like, "Oh God, that got me a little bit."
Yeah, which he'll probably accustom himself to, and even though he's going to be around full time, he's not going to be wrestling every week.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to protect him to some description. I fucking hope.
I hope so.
Well, here's the thing, though. Let's get to the finish of this match. CM Punk's GTS, you're right. Both of them were good, but the second one,
gorgeous,
so good,
gorgeous.
And I also like the fact that Sting was not at ringside. He took Darby Allin to the ring. He came out to shake CM Punk's hand at the end, but he was not ringside.
I like Sting, but he wasn't necessary.
He wasn't necessary
Agreed.
for this, and that's great. So we all agree that this match was great, right?
Great. This was the best thing on the show.
Now, do you want to know what they did on Dynamite to follow up?
No.
So CM Punk was... No, Sean, you may like this one. So CM Punk came out to talk about his match, and Taz interrupted him. And Taz is like, I'm tired of you being here and you talking about all the good stuff. This is not a sob story, and me and my group are going to beat you. And CM Punk versus Will Hobbs?
Okay. Another guy who, if led, is going to probably put a decent match on the card.
CM Punk versus Ricky Starks, who CM Punk has been noted as saying he wants to work with.
That I am all in for.
I think that's the match that they're going with the next time CM Punk wrestles. I think at that Washington show.
Maybe the MSG show?
I think that might... Yeah, not Washington. The MSG show. That's the one.
Where'd you get... Okay, you got Washington from the main event, clearly, but...
Can you tell that I've never been to a northern state before?
I'll tell you this. My final thoughts on this, speaking of the North, which you should maybe come up, just not during the winter because it's cold as fuck. But
so I've heard.
It's my final thought on this is like, you could definitely tell that CM Punk's arrival has changed the tone of this program.
If you had said that this
hard representation of what's to come, if Punk is going to change the standard, I like that this is going to be his standard.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when Tony Khan teased about how AEW was about to unlock the Forbidden Door? This is what he should have referenced when he said that.
Yep.
Because this actually feels like something that never should have happened, and god damn it finally happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, CM Punk is one of the very few guys in AEW who doesn't need the world title because he's a draw on his own. Not that he shouldn't go for the title at some point, but I think he can be the star that they need him to be.
Yeah. I think you're right, Sky. I think it's better that he's not. I think it's better he's not involved in that equation. As much as I'd love to see the title taken off Kenny, I don't think CM Punk is necessarily the right person to do that. And I think that having him in matches on his own is going to keep him a feature on his own, and that's what matters.
In retrospect, the only reason why Kenny Omega and Christian was the main event was because of the two debuts. Honestly, I wish that this was the main event. In a different universe, this would have been the main event. But yeah, this was easily the best thing on the show.
If you ever could have made the case for a match other than the world title to close the show, this was probably it.
Yeah.
Well, we can't go from this match to the piss break match. QT Marshall versus Chris Jericho. Paul White.
The Big Show. JR.
Chris Jericho is so fat, he looks like the Big Show.
Chris Jericho is so fat that Jericho was 40 minutes late to debut.
Chris Jericho was so fat, Big Show told Chris Jericho, whoa, dude, you need to cut back a little.
Amazing.
Joshua, continue.
This is something that started.
Chris Jericho's so fat that he's going to get diabetes and die.
Don't joke about that, man.
What a tone! Wow.
You just ruined the joke, damn it.
Coming in with the chicken, like the anti-joke chicken meme.
It's a bold choice, my friend.
So this match was obviously a cool down. I feel kind of bad that this was Paul White's return to the ring, but if there was anywhere to put this match, this was it.
Yeah.
It's like, we have the return of CM Punk and Paul White.
Yep.
Well, Paul White was doing his best Dominic Mysterio impersonation.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, did he try to copy Eddie Guerrero?
No, whatever that ring gear was.
Yeah, the attire looked really weird.
Yeah. Then Big Show did a head palm shoot off, and the AEW fans were not really into it. JR called him the Big Show.
Yep. And
this was a Raw match where Big Show just beat all the heels, and that was that.
Chokeslam 1, 2, 3.
Well, it's a big show.
Yeah, with their discount ripoff of that song.
It's a big bad show tonight. Bam, ba-dum.
But then they actually told us that the Aleister Black cuts a promo. Does anyone bother or care that we're just going to skip right past that match?
No. Not really. It was the piss break match.
So Papa Moxley cuts his Big Daddy promo, which was fine, saying, I'm going to beat Grandpa Daddy, Suzuki, Toyota, and 2 other Japanese car names on Dynamite. Then we get a Malachi Black promo, where he's going to talk and fight Dustin Rhodes. And that match, I would actually watch.
I've heard that it was really good.
I might actually go and find that, because then when they pitch that, I'm like, you know what? That's probably going to be pretty good. Same with Pac and Idolo. That's probably going to be good, too.
I loved the line, it's time to pay the boatman's toll. That is such a badass line.
Yeah,
but
I liked all that. So
I love Greek
matches in AEW.
I love Greek mythology, so that got me.
Well, I don't have a good enough Styx transition, except that I am in fact a blue collar man.
Chris Jericho is so fat he looks like the Loch Ness monster.
All right.
Chris Jericho is so fat that the 3-headed Cerberus ran in fear.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Medusa turned to stone. And then Jericho ate her.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Circe turned into a pig. Moving on.
Chris Jericho is so fat, Zeus struck him with lightning, and Chris Jericho said, that tickles.
No, the lightning bolt bounced off his belly and shot right back in Zeus's face.
Oh, man.
Chris Jericho is so...
This is a joke of mythological proportions here. We're going to keep doing it until it's dead and buried into the ground.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Perseus thought he was a Titan.
Chris Jericho's so fat that Titus O'Neil slid underneath him at Saudi Arabia.
Oh, God. You broke Skyler with that one.
It's main event time, folks. Omega versus Christian Cage for the AEW World Title. I'm going to try and bring this back around. This match was odd.
This match was kind of weird.
Was just odd. We've got. Are you okay over there, Sky?
No, I think you killed him. I think you killed him.
I think he might be dead.
I've never heard Skyler wheeze before.
That was brilliant.
That's ACPW main eventer Titus O'Neil, by the way.
Dude, Sean, I love our dichotomy. You have the good one-liners and the amazing delivery, and I just have the out of nowhere deadpan anti-jokes.
That's right.
We have the exact polar opposite comedy beats, and it's great.
It's true. It's so true. And Skyler's just there laughing and just shaking his head. And Skyler's still broken here, but that's okay. I'll give him some time to recover before he cuts a promo on Kenny Omega.
Just let me think about Kenny Omega, and then I'll stop laughing, and I'll be sad.
Yeah, that seemed like it worked. But, that certainly worked. Well, I'll tell you what about Kenny Omega. He is not nearly as over as he was before he won this world title.
What is with his facial hair?
He's Triple H.
He's a moron.
I mean, we already knew that. So
it's like looking at the sun. You kind of don't want to look at it because it'll hurt your eyes, but you can't help but look at it and think, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yes.
I felt kind of bad for both these guys because it kind of feels like the fans were booing this match because of the pairing, not because of Paige decided not to show up because of the baby. And so I kind of felt bad for both of them, but I do have to say, Christian Cage probably kept Omega to the least goofy he's been in the ring. That doesn't mean this was a good match, but it means it was probably one of the better Omega matches I've seen.
Because Christian is actually a professional wrestler who knows what he's doing and actually can get something out of a guy who tries his best to do everything that's a mockery of the business.
Yep. And then they go to these. So this match, they start off, they go into their whole exchange. They go to the outside. The referee not even bothering to count. I don't know if you noticed that.
God. The referee might as well just not even have been there.
But Christian still got in before the imaginary count of 10. Because he's going to enforce the rules even if there are no rules to enforce.
Yeah, Christian kept getting back in the ring and out to break the imaginary not happening count. So at least he was doing that. And I think Kenny Omega did it once, too.
And then Kenny Omega does the thing where the first table spot.
That made me roll my eyes so hard. Like, listen, these two guys do not like, and I would even say hate Kenny Omega. I love Kenny Omega, but when he pulled out this table, I immediately was like, are you serious? We don't need tables in this match.
And speaking of, by the way, the referee having literally no authority, just standing there in the ring, waiting for these guys to do shit with the table. Like, when Callis was distracting, okay, that's fine, I get that. But when Christian literally spears Kenny Omega off the stage, the ring apron, into the table, and the referee can just, like, 1, 2, 3, God fucking damn it.
Yep.
Christian nearly died on that speed.
The way the leg of that table broke through the table and, like, smacked him, that was like, oh, God.
Yeah, that was...
It landed too low on that table. They should have, like, backed up a little bit to land in the middle of the table, not, like, near the edge. That was brutal.
Also, Christian, you shouldn't be doing the spear because you don't do it very well. I'm sorry.
Hey,
he's not Edge.
I loved how Kenny Omega bumped for the one in the ring, and I loved the spear to the back. I thought that was cool.
But Christian looks like he's walking when he's doing the spear.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as intense.
Yeah.
But he still led this to some logic in this matchup. And it's just that the thing, then we had the Christian taking that big crash and burn bump from the top rope that looked terrific. And then this fucking moonsault botch.
Oh, I laughed at this.
This, I did not. This actually is one of the things that really bothered me about this match. Because it's one thing to botch and to slip. That did make me laugh. But then for Kenny Omega to be like, oh, looks like I'm just a fucking goof. And Christian just supposed to sit there and wait for Omega to then do another one. And even Callis is like, hey, you fucked up, didn't you? You see what he did there? And it was so bad. I'm like, guys.
Speaking of which,
it's one thing to acknowledge a botch, but it's another to take that long to do it.
What is with his Steve Urkel fascination all of a sudden?
Hated that.
Why?
Which one?
Kenny Omega. Like, why is his catchphrase, did I do that? Why?
Because he likes to be a goof.
Okay, again, I really like Kenny Omega, but stuff like that does annoy me. Like, if there was no table in this match, and he would stop doing the did I do that, then I would be happier.
It doesn't feel like Kenny Omega is not the Japan guy. Like, where's the Japanese Kenny Omega?
Yeah.
He's still in New Japan.
Clearly, because this is Kenny Omega.
I'm so mad that he ate the New Japan Kenny Omega. Because we haven't seen him the same since.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Chris Jericho got fat when he came to AEW.
He consumed.
He ate New Japan Kenny Omega and turned him into American Kenny Omega.
No, he ate Japanese Kenny Omega, and he shit out weird Steve Urkel Omega.
That would explain why the blue hair is there.
But I will say, though, this was a lot calmer Kenny Omega than he normally is. And I think that's because Christian reined him in a lot.
Yeah.
From what he did. And honestly, on that basis, I'm not saying that he's stomachable, but I didn't want to vomit watching this match. That running was ridiculous.
It felt like there was like upset stomach. Like any moment now, you know Kenny Omega's gonna do something stupid.
Which he did.
Did I do that?
He saved it for his promo.
Did I do that? Sorry.
But there was one
what's wrong with you?
Sorry. Continue.
Chris Jericho was so fat he ate Steve Urkel.
Chris Jericho's
so fat he did that.
Chris Jericho's so fat that he ate something ridiculous, pointed at it, and said, "Did I do that?" This is deteriorating.
That's what he says when he's leaving the Waffle House bathroom.
That's what he that's what he does every time he destroys a toilet. He points at it and says, "Did I do that?"
Judas in the toilets.
Coming up on the next Being the Elite, Chris Jericho. How far is too far?
How fat is too fat?
How fat is too fat?
So, but anyway, then they do another disqualification-worthy table spot. Snapdragons suck. Almost looked like Christian was going to actually snap his neck when he did them. It just... Christian made Kenny look better, but no one believed that Christian was winning this.
Yeah.
Nobody. It was a shocker he won the first match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And say what you want to say, but
sucked ass.
Kenny Omega can sell the crap out of the kill switch.
That's the one good thing that he did in this match.
Yes. It was just weird. And then the random interference from the fucking goons, the club, and
who are so goddamn one note. I have a match, have them run in. Have a match, run in. Do these guys do anything else?
Henchmen for life. They're the
different WWE either.
Did you know that they're the Impact Tag Team Champions?
Did they win those titles back?
Apparently.
Great. Oh, God. Well, let's move on from this match, because we get the one-wing angel from the top, which Christian at 46 or whatever is taking.
47.
Oh, excuse me. 47. And then we get to the final bits of this, the aftermath.
Oh, this promo fucking pissed me off.
So bad.
This is Kenny Omega doing everything he can to take the work that him and Christian just did and shit all over it. God damn it. Can you not be serious for one goddamn minute during their promo? No, you cannot. Because you don't care about wrestling. You just care about jacking yourself off. Fuck you, Kenny Omega.
It didn't bother me.
Because you have been drinking the Kool-Aid.
I drink Monster, good sir. And it turns me into a demon that eats elves. Chris Jericho's so fat he turns into a demon that eats elves.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And then we get the debut of Mr. Adam Cole, baby.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
what are your opinions of this debut?
I liked it.
It's not generic porn star good enough. It needs to be more generic and needs to be more porny.
I liked it.
Weird, okay. Weird question, okay.
I want to jerk off to Adam Cole.
Most
Weird
women do.
but okay.
Most women do.
What about you, Josh, again? What do you actually feel about this?
Oh, I kind of suspected that he was going to join the Elite. And I liked his entrance music. I loved the pop that he got. I loved watching him walk to the ring. I kind of knew he was going to super kick one of the good guys, one of the baby faces. But I feel like that when the announcers were like, I can't believe that he's on their side. He said that I remember what you did to me because apparently I didn't know this because I haven't really been following the Elite outside of AEW or before AEW, but apparently they kicked him out of the group and beat the crap out of him. So, I think they're sowing...
You notice he only hugged the Young Bucks. He did not hug Kenny Omega at all.
Yeah, so they're sowing the seeds that eventually there's going to be turmoil between Adam Cole and the Elite, which I liked. So I didn't have a problem with this. I really liked seeing Adam Cole. I'm just happy that Adam Cole's not going to be on Raw.
Here's my problem with this. And this... Okay. You just got a huge get that nobody knows is coming. Everybody suspected Danielson was coming later, right? Everybody suspected that. But nobody realistically knew that Cole was coming. There was a lot of whispers, but not on this night, you know? And you get the guy who was arguably the biggest name that NXT has ever produced outside of Tommaso Ciampa, perhaps. And somebody, you know, as a huge Wednesday night star, gets a monster babyface pop. Someone from the other show has arrived here, and then he joins the NWO. and he's immediately just another one of them.
I see what you mean, but it doesn't bother me because I am aware of the history of those people. So
right, I know what they're going for, right? I understand I understand where they're heading. I'm not saying that they don't, but to me, this feels like you've already taken the sting out of the bee before it's had a chance to pollinate.
I can kind of see what you mean.
I understand why he turned heel and all that. Like, I get what they were going for. I'm not saying it was necessarily bad. I just think that for what you have with Adam Cole, you could have gotten a lot more out of Adam Cole. Says the guy who turned him into a total cuck bitch. So
yeah.
Unless you did something different. This is not interesting because this is Adam Cole basically reverting back to what he was before WWE, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But what he was doing on NXT was so compelling. It feels like a step backwards.
Give it a chance, because I do think that he is going to turn on the Elite, and that does make for a little bit of intrigue with me personally. So
but here's the thing, though: Adam Cole is better than them. Like, Adam Cole is the best wrestler of that foursome, and honestly, Adam Cole doesn't need the Young Bucks. He doesn't need Kenny Omega. He's a big enough star on his own that he could do his own thing.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem with it. I think that's the biggest part of it, is that Adam Cole does not need a group to be relevant and to show people that he's relevant.
Well,
and I think
actually, if anything, Adam Cole should have been one to answer CM Punk's promo on Dynamite, because that would have been so much more interesting.
Yeah, and maybe we would have gotten more eyes on Dynamite.
Because the other thing, too, is that you had 2 debuts back-to-back. You couldn't let the Adam Cole debut breathe. You had to cram in Bryan Danielson, which, let's be clear, I love Bryan Danielson. It's going to get a little weird to say that, considering I've said Daniel Bryan for so long.
Yeah.
But Bryan Danielson coming in immediately relegated Adam Cole, which he should not have. And that's my problem with this.
Yeah, I will agree with that. It does like, oh, Adam Cole's so great, and then Bryan Danielson comes out.
Daniel
Bryanson.
Name from now on.
Yes.
Chris Jericho is so fat he ate Daniel Bryan's name.
Oh God.
But yeah, so it did take the shine off of Adam Cole a little bit.
Secondary, because Bryan Danielson got a huge pop.
But what you were saying earlier about how Adam Cole does not need the Young Bucks or Kenny Omega, whether or not you believe that, or like if you agree or disagree with that, Adam Cole probably himself does not agree with that. And plus, in real life, they are close friends, so naturally he would want to work with his friends.
And speaking of friends, we're going to quickly break into a News of the Week segment. Go right now.
Sean, I'm stealing your intro again.
Coming straight to you from the Golden Gate Garage, this is the Wrestle News with Skyler Greenberg.
Anyways, the news of the week, there are rumors that, speaking of friends, Kevin Owens, when his contract ends next year, is going to go to AEW and join up with Adam Cole and the Young Bucks.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really care.
And there are also rumors that Sami Zayn will do the same thing.
WWE has bled them so dry that it'll be cool to see them, but I honestly just don't care. It's sad, but I don't care.
I agree with that, and I'm gonna add more to it. I think that's going to hurt AEW's image more than it will help. Because Kevin Owens, and I've made a mention about this ever since I've watched him, I've never liked his look with the shorts and the t-shirt and the looking like he's still in wrestling school. I've never liked it. I've always hated it. Adding Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who I'm sure is going to go back to being Generico, because why fucking wouldn't he? It is going to make this show look and feel more indie. And CM Punk just got this show to start feeling more legitimate.
Well, if anything, it's going to do one thing. It's like, oh great, more ex-WWE guys.
Yep, that is the thing. That is.
It's good. It's gonna continue pushing AEW down the WCW TNA path.
Yep, but you're both right. You're both right.
And this is gonna be. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see because there's no denying that this show was head and shoulders better than any pay-per-view that WWE has put out or AEW has put out up to this date. To date. Yeah. This is probably their best work.
Yes, agreed.
And none of it has anything to do with the EVPs because the Young Bucks are the Young Bucks and they wrestle Young Buck matches. Kenny Omega is a goof, and whether you like him or not, you have to admit that he doesn't take anything seriously. Cody Rhodes wasn't even here.
That's probably for the better.
I will say, I like Cody Rhodes, but it was kind of refreshing to not have him on an AEW show.
Because you know Cody's going to get himself off and everyone else.
Because Cody is a total, I've been saying that a lot of people on the show are morons. Cody is like king moron. It's every time he opens his mouth in an interview, I just want to slug him. It's just the worst. And
no Brandy is a good thing.
Yeah.
No Brandy is a good thing.
That's the thing though, is as this roster gets better, the EVPs are going to have a harder time keeping their positions.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Let's do this. I will close out this whole series. So why don't we start with Skyler, your overall final thoughts on AEW All Out 2021?
Also, Adam Heyman Page should not take the title off of Omega.
Who should?
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryanson. Daniel Bryanson.
Daniel Bryanson.
Can you imagine, like, because they're probably going to do, I don't know if this has been confirmed, but it looks like they might do, like, a huge tag team match at the MSG show. But what if in Daniel Bryanson's first AEW singles match is for the AEW title and he wins it?
That's what they should do.
That would be awesome.
Get the title on Bryan Danielson and let him have professional wrestling matches for the world title, and you can just print money because that's what you should do. Adam Heyman Page, the ship has sailed on him.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the world champion. He's just going to be a sad drunk.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you there, but I'm going to say this. In order for Hangman Page to reach a world title caliber level, which he's still young, he can definitely still do that. But in order to do that, he's going to have to work with these people who are currently very clearly above him in both ability and standing.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big part of this because, I mean, the level of star competing for title has changed. Can they, if they are, is it possible, especially because I truly believe that Tony Khan is learning at least a little bit here, because there was a lot more that made sense on this show than a lot of other AEW shows. Can they make stars out of MJF and Hangman Page still with the talent that they're continuing to accrue?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
In the meantime, this show was definitely better, but it's still AEW. There are things I still hate about this show, mainly the EVPs. If I never have to see the Young Bucks again, it will be too soon. Kenny Omega, get the title off him as soon as fucking possible because he never should have held the title for this long.
Agreed.
I don't know. I would give this show a 5 out of 10, but Chris Jericho was so fat he ate the score, so I have to give it a 4 out of 10.
Wow.
Damn. Bret Hart would be proud.
Yeah.
I can't give more than that because realistically there were maybe 2 or 3 good matches on this show, and everything else was either shit or had something so stupid that I couldn't accept it.
Fair enough.
All right.
JoshAgeddon.
I loved this show. I was thoroughly entertained. Pretty much the only thing I hated on this show was Excalibur and the women's casino battle royal of bullshit and terribleness. And the main event I thought was kind of weird. And one thing about the main event, it was kind of like a placeholder for the angle afterwards. It very felt much like they were going through the motions to get through to that angle. So
it was 20 minutes of motions.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of motions were going on, especially in Chris Jericho's belly. But overall, I really enjoyed the show. CM Punk made the entire pay-per-view for me. So, I'm going to give the show 2 times what Skyler gave it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
This is the best AEW show they've ever done.
Yes. Well, I agree with that.
That's a very high bar.
But that's a high rating. And
I love this show.
I'll give you credit to this, though, because I had a lot of fun watching this. For the good matches that there were, I tried to keep an open mind, and I actually ended up having fun. There are a lot more matches where the standard of wrestler was better. Just all in all, just the overall quality of wrestler on this show, by average, was better than what they have put out in the past. There's no disputing that, unless you count the pre-show match.
Yeah.
But all in all, this to me felt like a WWE mixed bag. It's, to me, it just felt to me like there was the good, the bad, and the downright ugly, which is exactly what we get with WWE pay-per-views all the time. We mention it. We like, this WWE show has 1 good match on it, or 2 good matches on it, and then we say that something's like okay, and then we usually say something, which is usually the women's match, is absolute dog shit.
Yep.
Well,
yep.
AEW, we had some 2 or 3 really good matches. We had a couple matches that were all right. We had stuff that was bad, and we had stuff that was downright horrific. Usually the women's match. Oh wait, it was.
Yep.
The Casino Battle Royale.
They need to dump that. I hate the Casino Battle Royale.
This is
their gimmick.
It's their gimmick, and they're gonna run it into the ground. This is my deal with this. For a show that was trying so hard not to be WWE, this sure feels a bit like WWE. But there is a lot more organically good things on this show than there is in WWE, just because everything there is so manufactured. Mm-hmm. You don't get that feeling here. Does that mean that they're perfect? No. Does that mean that the people who are running the show are the problem? Absolutely. But if Tony Khan is learning the way I think he is, this show was such a drastic step in quality for AEW that there is potential here. I am more optimistic about AEW than I may ever have before, but it's all going to come down to who Tony Khan, what kind of answer is Tony Khan going to have? Is he going to answer to the obvious increase in ratings and money? Or is he going to pay attention to the EVPs? We are at crossroads in AEW's life.
I see what you did there.
WWE pretty much not taking AEW seriously and handing them pretty much 3/4 of the momentum that AEW is going to get. It'll be very interesting to see what AEW looks like a year from now.
Mm-hmm. And think about this.
Because tides are turning.
I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but did AEW Dynamite beat Raw in the ratings?
In the demos, yes.
The demos?
The 18
okay.
to 49 demo.
Okay.
But that, you know what? It's a start.
It's a start.
Because they're getting that audience that advertisers love, and they're going to continue getting that if WWE continues running off their fans.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time to be a wrestling fan, ladies and gentlemen, and what a show this has been. What a score.
You didn't even give a score.
Yeah, what is your score?
Oh, my score, right, I've got to give my rating. I'm sorry. I originally gave this show a 7.5, but I feel like that's a little too high, a little too optimistic, but I won't go so low as Sky either. I'm going to not even split the difference between you two. I'm going to give it a solid 7. Because all in all, for the overall tone of the show, I wasn't pissed off the way I am with WWE's booking 3/4 of the time. There was a lot of stupid stuff they did that I knew what to and what not to pay attention to. And there was a lot more. I've often said that this show was, or that AEW shows are a 2.5-hour wrestling show buried under 2.5 hours of filler. That's pretty much what this was here, but there was definitely more good than there was before.
Yeah.
So keep it up, AEW. If you keep learning and get rid of those EVPs, you might have a shot at this.
Okay.
Just have Chris Jericho eat the EVPs.
Yes.
He'd still be hungry. He'd be hungry in like an hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think all 3 of us can agree, If you want to watch one match on this show, watch the CM Punk match.
Yes.
Like, the whole show was worth it for that.
But with that said, folks, it's time. What a hell of a show. What a slog.
Oh, yeah.
2.5 hours.
Yep.
What a slog it's been. Any last words, Skyler, before JoshAgeddon and I simul sign off?
That Titus O'Neil joke is so good.
Right. And you can listen to that as many times as you want by subscribing to the Court Martial Podcast, hitting that bell button, liking and sharing with everyone you know, and also liking and sharing and subscribing to TAW Gaming and to the Totally Awesome Podcast, and sharing that around the water cooler at work when people are wondering, what did you do on your Saturday night?
And if people are wondering, yes, we will watch the next AEW pay-per-view when it happens.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Full gear.
Full gear.
Until then, I've got full pants. So, JoshAgeddon, why don't you close out the TAP and I will close out the CMP?
Chris Jericho is as fat as this podcast is long.
And maybe bigger than that.
Yes. But thank you guys so much for listening to our opinions of AEW All Out 2021. Tell us what you thought of
Waistline.
Yes, and Chris Jericho's ever-extending waistline.
That's right.
Let us know what you think. Give us your best Chris Jericho's fat jokes in the comments section. Go subscribe to the Court Martial Podcast, Colonial Impact Wrestling. Go listen to White Nux on Spotify, SoundCloud, every music thing on the internet right now. Like, comment, subscribe to TAW Gaming, the Eat Dream Team. All of our stuff will be links in the description. Good night, everybody.
And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week for ACPW versus NWL on the Court Martial Podcast. But until then, thank you very much for bearing with us throughout this entire marathon. We will be right back after a piss break and these commercial breaks.
Did you know that Chris Jericho's fat?